So November 8th, 2021, the beautiful city of the Villages in Florida. My name is Jong-woo Han. I am the president of Korean War Legacy Foundation, which has more than 1,500 of interviews of Korean War veterans, not only from the United States, but also from other 21 countries that participated in the Korean War.
Oh, yeah.
We are doing this to, first of all, preserve your memory, because it's been a long time, right? It's been a long time.
71 years.
Exactly. And also we want to honor your service as a Korean War veteran. But most importantly, Korean War has been known as forgotten war, and they don't talk much about in the classroom. So we are going to make this interview into curricular resources for teachers to use in the classroom when they talk about the Korean War. Right? So they're going to hear from Richard Ekstrand about your experience as a Korean War veteran, okay? It's my great pleasure and honor to have you today. Thank you for coming with your wife, Dorothea. And please introduce yourself. What is your name, sir?
My name is Richard Arthur Ekstrand.
Could you spell it?
Spelled E-K-S-T-R-A-N-D.
Ekstrand.
Ekstrand.
What is the ethnic origin of this last name?
Well, to my knowledge, according to family history, I'm a half Swede.
Half?
On my mother's side, yes. Mm-hmm. My father's side was German.
German.
German and Prussian, I guess.
Uh-huh. So up there in the northwest of Europe.
Somewhere.
Right. What is your birthday?
My birthday's October 11th, 1928.
1928? So you are 93?
I'm 93 years old, yes.
You're not cheating with me now.
No, I'm being very sincere.
I cannot believe he looks like a 63, 73.
Oh, a little more, 80, 85 maybe, at least.
You look very young.
Well, I have all my hair and teeth, it's a fooler.
That's amazing, isn't it? I wish I can have that much hair when I reach, if I am lucky, to 93, right? Yeah.
Somewhat hereditary, maybe.
Yeah.
I had a younger brother, a year and a half. He had all his hair also.
So it's in your DNA.
Somewhere, somewhat, yes.
Strong, sweet, Swedish DNA, never. All right, so where were you born?
I was born in Davenport, Iowa, the state of Iowa, over on the Mississippi River.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I went to Sweden because the Sweden sent medical team to Korean War. Oh. So I met many nurses and I had a lot of interviews. So if you check my website, www.koreanwarlegacy.org, and you can hear from those.
This one?
Yes. You can hear from that Swedish nurses that actually treated many of Korean War veterans during the war.
Oh, okay.
So tell me about your parents and your siblings when you were growing up. What did your father and mother do and your sibling? How many when you were growing up?
Well, I had 3 siblings. I'm the oldest of 2 boys and 2 girls in that order.
So 4 siblings. I mean, 3 siblings including you, 4, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and? What did your father do?
My father worked for a newspaper. He was a printer.
Oh.
He worked in the composing room of the newspaper.
What newspaper?
It was called the Davenport Democrat.
So your father was a Democrat?
I guess he was. I'm not too sure. He passed away at the age 39 very suddenly when I was around 12 years old. So life was good until then, and but after that, why, it became a changed life, being the oldest of four.
Right.
I was 12 or 13. He passed away in 1940, just before World War II broke out.
Mm-hmm.
And we ranged all the way down to a kid sister. The brother's next, Dave, and then the older sister was Diane, and the kid sister was Donnell. She was 2 when her father died, when her dad died, and so she doesn't remember him. So she's 83, but she's still the kid sister. The 2 sisters live in California today.
Got it. So what high school did you graduate and when?
I went to Davenport High School.
Davenport. You never get out of Davenport.
I never grew up in Davenport, all the way up until the time I was drafted into service.
When did you graduate?
I graduated in 1947.
1947.
Yes.
And when you were in school, did any teacher teach about you on Korea?
Well, we going back to history, and no, I don't recall. I would say no. I don't remember much in the history classes about history of the Far East at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little, but nothing that would be significant to me today. You know, most of it was American history. Very, I don't think any of it was foreign history.
So you didn't know much about Korea at all when you graduated your high school, Davenport High School, in 1947. And then what did you do?
After I graduated, a couple of odd jobs as a young fella out of high school. During my high school days, most of the news or international focus at that time was on World War II.
Yep.
And after. So after I graduated, I was able to obtain a carpenter apprenticeship. So I went ahead to learn the carpenter trade.
I see. And then when did you join the military?
I joined the military in 1950.
Were you drafted or you enlisted?
I was drafted.
Drafted.
I let them come get me.
So where did you get the boot camp training?
I was sent to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Mm-hmm. And from there, is there any other training that you received?
No.
Not at all.
I was about 10 or 12 weeks of basic training, infantry training, I guess, assorted.
And then when did you leave for Korea? From where?
I left Korea from there.
From?
Well, I was given, I've forgotten, 2 or 3 weeks off duty, and then I went back in with the group, and I was sent to the West Coast and shipped over to Korea.
So what port did you depart from?
Let's see, Oregon or Washington. I guess it was Washington.
Louis? Fort Louis?
I'm not certain.
Okay.
If that's a fort that was there, that probably was the destination where I left.
And when did you arrive in Korea and where?
I traveled on a troop transport ship, and we stopped off. This I'm not too positive about. We stopped off in Japan somewhere, and then we went on to Korea. We went to Busan.
Busan.
Yeah.
When was it? Do you remember? 50, 51?
It was 51, probably April, end of April of 51.
And from Busan, where did you go?
I was put on a train, on a railroad, and we traveled north.
Mm-hmm. And 38 parallel?
I don't know how far we went.
Mm.
We went to some base camp somewhere probably we were still in South Korea area.
Right.
Yeah. But in the northern part of South
north
Korea.
of Seoul.
Yes, probably.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Seoul, Korea on the way up to north?
No.
No. So when you arrived in Busan, what was your first image of Korea? Just be honest and be straight.
Oh my. That's where you tax my memory. Well, we were in camp, other troops around. I really wasn't outside in the community at all. So I don't recall really anything much about the community until we got organized and started moving around.
Mm-hmm.
The train we traveled on was primitive, so that kind of gave me some idea probably what the country was like. Because it was a pretty rough train ride.
Did you see some Korean children out there?
Later on I did, and civilians, but not right away.
How did that look to you? How was the situation?
Well, my first let's see. I guess my first realization after seeing them, this was when we were organized and we're moving around. We're either on transport, trucks, or we were walking. After a while, it was mostly walking. Seeing the natives and maybe going through a village or going by some remote area where it seemed quite primitive to me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought time had gone back about 100 years.
Yeah, that's a very good description.
The people were in, I guess, their native dress, long gowns or dress. Gosh, they were barefooted or sandals or something, and but in a village or home or a house somewhere or farm was quite primitive, I thought. Thatched roofs and that's about all I remember. I guess we would pick up stories about, those houses are they're primitive. It says they've got dirt floors, but they have the modern heating system. They have what did they call it?
Ondor.
They had
Underheating.
Underfloor heating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They built a fire on one end, and the draft carried it through and heated the floor. Well, I was never in one. I might have been in one for some moment or something, but when we were moving north, so many of those villages had been wiped out. They just weren't there anymore. Mm. I did recall one. I can't think of the name of it. If you'd rattle off a few names, maybe it might come to me. But I remember we walked through. This was such and such a place, and there just wasn't much there.
의정부? Does that ring the bell?
No. No, it was a simpler name than that. But I had it in my memory a long time, but it's gotten away.
So, what was your unit, sir?
I was in the 24th Infantry.
24th Infantry Division?
Division, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And what about regiment, battalion, companies?
I don't remember.
You
the numbers.
don't remember the companies even?
No, don't remember the company. I mean, like a number, a letter, you know. I was in the 24th Division. I don't know what a regiment would be the next, but I don't remember.
And what was your MOS, specialty?
I was a rifleman.
Rifleman.
Mm-hmm.
And what was your rank at the time?
I was a private.
Private?
Yeah.
All right. So, you arrived in April 1951 in Busan, and you went up to north. So tell me about what was your daily routine. What did you do there? And were there any severe battle you engaged? And were there any dangerous moments that you might have been killed? Tell me about the battle side of the story.
Not too many battles. Not really any battles at first. And, you know, as a lower rank, they never kept you informed about anything, only what was necessary. Mm. We would they would tell us, well, we might be engaging the enemy up here in such and such an area, so, you know, be on your guard. Mm. I did more walking than anything. As we, you know, I got a kick out of the Korean Memorial in Arlington Cemetery, because it predicts soldiers walking through rice paddies, and I told them I never walked through a rice paddy the whole time I was there. I saw rice paddies, but never walked through them. You know, as we got, I guess they're predominantly in South Korea, but as you go north, it gets more wooded and more mountainous and hilly country. I watched battles from afar. I watched a tank battle for a while, sitting on top of a large hill or mountain, looking down. You know, wondering what would show up, maybe coming at us, but it never did. You know, it was short skirmish. Maybe it was over in a short amount of time. But we did a lot of walking heading north, and we got in. We were always walking in up a hill, down a hill, woods, very wooded country, very wooded.
So you
country.
must be in the east side of it, rather than...
I was on. Yes, I would be on the east side. I was never actually told from a location where we were. You know, they didn't think that was important to the individual. You know.
How about Punch Bowl?
No, Punch Bowl was. I don't know where Punch Bowl was. I heard about it. No, that was west. Wasn't
Heartbreak Wick?
I heard of it, but I don't know where it was.
Iron Triangle?
No.
Geumhwa?
Well,
Geumhwa.
No, never heard of that.
Okay.
No.
All right. So you didn't really engage in a severe battle at all.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes, and I became wounded and received a Purple Heart.
Tell me about it. Tell me when and how it happened.
So I don't know where it was.
Yeah,
Don't know where it was. I other than the fact they told us we were north of the 38th parallel,
yes.
and we kept moving to engage the enemy. Well, I guess we finally did. Yeah, that battle.
Yeah.
And that's when I was wounded.
But how it happened? How were you wounded? Did you get the bullet or did you do? I mean, tell me about this situation, please.
Well, the battle had started. There was shooting, we're firing, and they were telling us, showing us, hey, they're up there, and I don't know how long it had been going on. Not too long, maybe 20 minutes, half hour, something. And they were throwing hand grenades. I never had a hand grenade on me, and but there was a lot of firing. And my first recollection of something to really be aware of was I see this dark spot coming through the air because it's daylight. And I think I hollered hand grenade. So I hit the ground, thinking it was coming my way, and it landed right next to me.
So you were wounded by the grenade?
By the grenade, shrapnel from the grenade, yeah.
Shrapnel, and where did you injured? All over?
In the back. And it ruptured my right lung.
Oh.
I had a lot of shrapnel in my back and my right lung, yeah. If I had been standing up, I probably would have been killed.
Yeah. So, were you transported to the hospital?
Not right away.
What happened? Tell me, please.
Well, the medics came, and they pulled me back down off the critical line area where all the activity was going on, and they dressed my wounds. They were all on my back. I had a helmet on, of course, and it was still on my head. Took my weapon away from me. I couldn't get up. I never was unconscious, but the explosive, the sound, it was just, your ears were ringing, I guess, and you weren't quite conscious what was going on. But I was conscious. They put me on a stretcher, and they hauled me back away from the area a ways. Yeah.
And then you went to hospital? What hospital? MASH?
Went to a MASH hospital the next day, not that day. They pulled me down to sort of a collection area because there were other wounded, and there were some dead on stretchers. And there were helicopters coming in evacuating the wounded and the dead. I don't know what the order was, but this was an afternoon daylight skirmish, and it became dark, and as I'm waiting my turn, I guess, to be evacuated, the copters stopped coming in because they didn't want to fly in the dark. So I remained there overnight. So the next day, they said, well, the copters aren't coming back, we'll have to carry you out. Now I guess there were a few other wounded, and there were some dead. And they carried us out. And it took us all day to get us back to our company rear, our lines, the rear echelon area that we occupied, to a mesh hospital.
What hospital? American mesh or Swedish mesh?
Yeah, you bring up Swedish, which is interesting, but I would guess it was an American mesh hospital. Yeah.
And how long did you stay there? Or did you actually transport to the other hospital?
Not right away. I stayed there a couple of days.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long. Wasn't too long, but it was a couple of days because they worked on me a little bit. I had a lot of trouble breathing. I couldn't breathe well.
Right.
And a lot of pain, discomfort, and they tried to ease that pain in my lung. I don't know about my wounds. I couldn't see my back. I mean, my legs, my arms, and were all right, but it was my back and my hip. See, hip and so about a couple of days later, they put me on a plane and they transported me south, all the way south to an airfield, I guess. It must have been back down around Busan again. There was a naval hospital ship there, or an army hospital ship.
Yep.
And they transported me to the hospital ship. And I stayed there for about 2 weeks. I guess, yeah, for about 2 weeks.
And then what happened?
And then I was transported to Japan by boat. It was a Danish hospital boat. I was surprised.
Yeah, Youthland.
No, it was called the Jutlandian.
Yeah, Jutlandia.
Jutlandia. I don't know why I remember that name.
Because that's the name, Jutlandia.
Well, you pronounce it a little differently, but okay. Well, the U.S. Naval Hospital ship was the Repose. I guess that was a carryover from World War II. It had been reactivated for the war.
So do you remember when you were wounded?
July 5th.
Of?
1951.
And then that was it. So you were discharged from the hospital, right? In Japan.
Let's see. I stayed over there, recuperate another 10 days, 2 weeks in a station hospital. I don't know where that was in Japan. I can't remember. Then I was discharged from there. They sent me back to Korea.
Korea again?
Yes.
So you were completely recovered?
They changed my profile, but they said I was recovered, yeah.
So you were able to breathe and you didn't have any problem in your back and so on?
No.
Huh. So where did you go? Did you stay in Cheolwon? Does that ring the bell? Cheolwon.
Terwon?
Yeah.
In
Korea. In the 38th parallel, north.
No.
No?
Doesn't ring a bell.
So you went back to Korea and what did you do?
They transferred me into an engineering outfit. They said they didn't send me back to infantry, which I felt real bad about, you know. So I said, but I'll take the engineering outfit.
What was the unit of it?
I don't know.
Okay, and what did you do there?
we worked in. They had a carpenter shop, and we did repairs on. We did repairs. We did. Let's see. What did we? See, this is where the memory gets fuzzy. We did a lot of bridge building, road work, that type of thing. I didn't go out. I didn't go out on the job much. We did a lot of preparation work in our shop, but I stayed in Busan.
Oh, so you were in Busan at the time?
At the time, yeah.
Okay.
Or the Busan area. We were probably just outside of Busan.
But at the time, there was not much going around in Busan area because war is up there.
The war was up north, yeah.
So what did you do? Was that for civilians, or why did you fix the road and bridges and so on?
Well, I guess we were mostly doing improvement work to the roads and bridges.
For Korea in general, not for the military.
No, yes, correct, yeah, yeah. So the roads are more navigable for vehicular, which I suppose was useful for the Korean population too, to get around.
Yep.
To travel around, yeah.
So you get the Purple Heart for the wounds, right?
Got Purple Heart for my wounds, yeah.
Yeah. And
they operated on me about 3 or 4 times, 3 different times, yeah.
You don't have any problem now in your lung?
No, I don't have any problem in my lung. I've got 2 pieces of shrapnel still in me that they
still
didn't
in the lung?
They didn't take out. No, they're in my back somewhere, back region.
Why didn't they take it out?
Search me. Probably, you know, they don't tell you details, but probably because they were deeper and they didn't appear to be causing me any problems.
So you don't feel any pain now?
No.
Not at all?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. At my age, I have aches and pains I didn't have earlier. So, back pains.
So,
I only thought I had 1 piece of shrapnel in me, and I know even after I left the hospital ship, went to Japan, they took a couple more pieces out of me over there because they gave me 1 piece, and I thought I'll keep it for a souvenir, and I lost it somewhere. It got away in the hospital.
Boys are different, right? Right?
What?
Did you regret to be in Korea?
Well, I wasn't happy to be there. I wasn't happy to be there, I guess, because, you know, it was a strange land, strange experience.
Mm-hmm.
There were many times I thought, well, I'll probably never get back home. You know, it was, because it seemed such a primitive country. I mean, outside of my service, you know, there wasn't anything to do in the country. I didn't travel around on my own. I stayed with the unit the whole time. You know, the only time I got away was to go on a week of rest trip to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Which wasn't too much. Saw a little bit of the country. Which of course, compared to Korea, was completely civilized, 20th century.
Mm.
I realized that Korea was a third world country at that time,
Yeah.
which South Korea is not now. It's a 21st century country, and I guess if that was with that keeping that area of the country intact made the trip and the event worthwhile, because the whole idea was to keep it from being taken over by a communistic regime, the North Koreans.
So now you know the Korean economy now, right?
I'm sorry?
Now you know the Korean economy, how well they are.
Oh yeah,
Tell me about that. Tell me,
well,
please. What do you know?
All I know is what I read and and see in the news media. But their society is equivalent to ours, most anywhere, I'm sure. And that's to me the lead would be the technology that comes out of Korea that contributes to our society, as well as from Japan.
Do you know the rank of Korean economy in the world right now?
Do I know what?
Rank of the Korean economy.
Oh, the rank?
I mean, to simply put it and explain where Korean economy is right now, number 10.
Number 10.
In the world.
In the world, yeah.
You know the size of Korea?
Yes.
Half of Florida state. Very small.
Yes.
There was nothing left, as you told me,
Yeah.
that it was so primitive.
Everything seemed to be wiped out. But it was so primitive, it didn't take much to wipe it out, I guess. Let me digress a little bit. I had a younger brother, year and a half. He was in the Marines. He was in our peacetime service, as it was called then, back in the 40s and 50s. And he joined the Marines. He quit high school. He wanted to go in the service. So he spent 4 years in peacetime Marines. He got out. He was in the reserves. They put him in the Marine reserves. The Korean War broke out, and they pulled those peacetime reserve fellas back in service and shipped them right over to Korea. And I think that's what formed the first Marine Corps over there. And
So your younger brother were in Korea?
Younger brother was in Korea.
Oh, come on.
He was battle ready. He was battle ready.
What's his name?
David. He was David Ekstrand. He passed away in June of 2000. Yeah, June of 2000.
And so when was he there?
He was there
1950, right?
1950. He was there in
Chosen few?
I would probably say September, at the beginning of the breakout of the war. The war broke out in, June, I think, of 50, July.
Yeah.
And he was there in August or September. And
So he must be in the Incheon landing.
not sure he was in the actual landing.
What about Chosen few?
He was in the Chosun Reservoir, which I guess I'm asking is western?
East?
Okay. He was in some horrific battles.
Yeah, he was in the Chosen few, the Marine.
Okay.
Yeah.
He went over as a organized unit, an organized company and a regiment. They got him over there. They flew the unit over there to Japan and then shipped him over to Korea. But the Marines at that time had 13-man squads, and the Army had 9 men. I was in the 9-man squad. They were 13-man squads. He was a sergeant. He was a squad leader.
Mm.
When all was over with, he was one of 3 men alive out of his squad. The other 10 were killed. And my brother never got a scratch.
Oh.
Never got a scratch the whole time. He went through the war the whole 2 years, or 2.5 years, or whatever it was, 2 years. When I was over there in the hospital in Japan, he was in Japan at the time, and he through our parents' letters, he must have been assigned there for a while from his Korean duty. My mother let him know that I was in the hospital in Japan, and told him where I was, and he came and visited me. So I saw my brother in Japan. Briefly.
David.
Yeah, that was memorable. Then right after that, he was sent home. He got out. He was sent home, and he was discharged. So I was still over there. Then I kind of followed him over and followed him back in the Army.
How was it like to see your brother visiting you to the hospital?
Well, it was quite amazing. Yeah, he had to really do some maneuvering to get there, because he was out of his range of where he could travel in Japan. I mean, he traveled on a train to get to and I don't know where that hospital was. I don't know why I can't remember but it was southern Japan, south central, I guess, and he came in to see me. This was a large hospital, Army Medical Hospital Center for Recuperation. It was general hospital, I guess, to take care of troops stationed in Japan, for medical problems. I remember he came into the ward, and it was a large ward. There weren't many patients there, and we talked. Yeah, I was happy to see him. He was in uniform, and evening came, and I guess we had lunch, and I said, "Hey, let's go to the chow hall. We'll have lunch." So evening came, and he says, "I can stay overnight, but I wonder where am I going to stay?" I said, "You can stay in that bed right next to me." He says, "They're going to frown on this." I said, "Well, we'll take care of that." So they had bed check, and he was still there with me. And the bed check left, and I said, "Okay, you can sleep there." He slept with me all night long in the ward, a visitor. I know that wasn't kosher, but
Did he come from Korea to see you?
No, he
was already in Japan.
He was already in Japan, yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of amazing when you think about it, how the timing could be right, because I wasn't there that long, and for him to be in Japan, to come make a local trip, so to speak, and come see me, that was kind of amazing, yeah.
When did you leave Korea?
I left Korea in August of 51.
August of 51. So you were actually like 4 months in Korea, right?
I was there 14 months. Yeah, they credited him with 14 months in Korea.
No. So you left Korea August of 1952. Yeah, 52, not 51.
Oh, no. I spent a winter in Korea.
Yeah, so 52.
52, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I returned back to the States, they released me from the service.
Yeah.
21 months. They didn't need me anymore.
when you left Korea, did you ever imagine that Korea would become like this today?
No, I did not. I didn't perceive that at all. No, I really didn't. I guess I probably perceived that Korea would be a changed country because knowing what happened during World War II, I was old enough to keep track of the events of World War II, and you know, we would repatriate countries. We left supplies and equipment there to help these countries rebuild. And I guess I figured that Korea would get leasing help from the United States. I mean, we spent all that effort to kick the communists back out. We sure didn't want them coming back, so we left troops there, and we still have troops there.
Yeah.
Our command of troops has never left the country. Yeah.
So what do you think about the whole past? You didn't know much about Korea. You went Korea, you were wounded, you were in a hospital, and then you went back to Korea. Yep. Now you've never been back to Korea, but you know how Korea is doing.
Know how Korea is doing. It would be interesting to go back to Korea to actually see the changes, but I'll never get there.
Do you want to go? There is a Korean government program inviting veterans back to Korea.
You're kidding.
Oh, you didn't know about that?
No, I didn't.
It's a revisit program. They provide you everything except maybe half of the international airfare.
Your travel, yeah.
And you will be treated like a king there for 1 week. You're going to go all over the Korea, and your wife can go with you.
That would be amazing.
You want to go try? Do you want me to put your name on that list?
I'm looking at my wife. You know, I'm 93 years old, and traveling is really not on my thing to do list anymore. I'm from Illinois. That's where I've been living. Whereas prior to being a Florida resident, I lived in Illinois, and I fly back and forth to see a daughter. I had 2 daughters, and I have 1 surviving daughter that lives there. And I fly back and forth to see her, and it seems to be quite an effort.
Okay.
I do that. I used to drive it back and forth. It's over 1,000 miles, but I gave that up, and I fly up and back. I'd have to give that some thought.
And you let me know, okay?
I'll do that, but
you let me know, okay?
I had a girlfriend, and she always wanted to go to China, and for some reason they didn't go to China, but instead they went to South Korea.
I see.
And then I think eventually they did go to China.
Uh-huh. So, Richard, what would you say about the war that you fought for young generations in the United States?
Well, looking back, I could see now, you know, it was all worthwhile. The United States wouldn't have engaged in that war unless they thought it served a particular humanitarian purpose. As a follow-up to World War II, let's say, you know, we fought in several wars, and it was necessary to maintain the humanitarian life of the free world. Yeah. And of course, we hated communism. We even fight it in this country today. Not as much as we did. It takes on different characteristics, I guess. But as many things do, we knew it was worthwhile from the beginning, and we wanted to we wanted to win that war. I think the only mystery I have is why we didn't keep going and go all the way up through North Korea and take the Chinese or the Chinese Communist government, take them down, because they were a militarized nation, and as we did in World War II, we took Germany down, Italy down, Japan down. We didn't just stop somewhere and leave them. I mean, we went all the way to dominate them. I guess I can't. It still bothers me today that they didn't do that, and I think it's sad that today Korea, the entire country, is not one, that it's still a divided country, so to speak.
You're right.
That, to me, will always be a sad affair.
At the time, U.S. do not wanted to engage in a very large-scale world war, and
Yes.
Soviet Union just successfully developed the nuclear test in 1949, and U.S. was aware of that. And China is massive,
Yes.
so and they didn't want to go back to another war, so they didn't want to do that.
Well, the big threat, I think, was China.
Yeah.
But people forget that during that war, we fought the Chinese.
Right.
I mean, it was a Chinese hand grenade that wounded me.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. And now China is challenging the United States, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
So you may be right. You may be right.
So, yeah, it was a political decision to kind of tamper the war down and bring it to a halt. Well, that's the way history is written. That's the way some history is written. But we repatriated half the country, and it always amazed me that North Korea can see all the advances that South Korea made and the type of civilization they have that they do not have. But it's the power in government that controls all this, and I don't know. I assume they're happy up there. Some of them are, but most of the country, I think, is still suffering up there. North Korea.
Yeah.
The people themselves are
They
suffering.
don't have enough food to feed their own citizens. That's a failure.
It's still a type of slaving state, and it always will be when you have just one power, when you don't have a democracy type of government where you give the people some voice. You know, the people need the voice. And I think that's why South Korea became so successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to the Korean people in the context of 70th anniversary of the breakout of the Korean War, still technically at war, but still prospering?
Well,
What would you say to them?
I'm thankful that you're brave, successful people become successful in elevating their society equal to the societies in the world, and that you'll always be successful, and you'll always have an opportunity to do the things that dreams are made of, as we do here in this country. Yeah.
Any other episode or any other message you want to leave to this interview?
Oh. No, I don't believe so. I should end it there. I'm just one small individual that took a small part.
Your humility
That
really.
that probably, hopefully, helped you to be where you are today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
very small part.
I imagine.
That I'll never regret. So basically, I don't regret ever going. You know, I never had any vengeance while I was over there. And believe me, I saw a lot of servicemen that were.
Yeah.
Some of them were like maniacs, but you find that in any society, whether it's militarized or not.
That's right.
But you just stay away from that. Even in a good society, you find that type of element, and they don't need to be your friends. Just stay away from them. You can find, but the good Lord will help you find your friends anywhere you want to look. Yeah. So with that, I guess I would say amen.
Amen. Thank you,
Mr.
Richard.
Hahn,
Thank you, Richard, for sharing your story with us. And
you're welcome, sir.
thank you for your service. You wounded severely. You could be killed, but you survived. And now you are witnessing all the world.
Well, at the time, I didn't realize it. You know, being a young man, I felt I was a Christian person then, but the Lord was with me. And yes, He could have taken me, but He didn't. And He had a reason for it. So, and I'm living that reason today.
So do you, the Christian?
Oh yes,
Okay. You read the Bible.
I read the Bible.
So I consolidated 4 Gospels into one so that you don't have to back and forth.
Okay.
But I didn't add any of my own word. It's all biblical text. I know that nobody takes a strike from what God says. So
No, we shouldn't. We should always go follow God's word. Yes,
Yeah.
it's true.
thank you, sir.
All right. I thank you.
It's my pleasure and honor to have you.
Thank you for your invitation.
Thank you, sir.